So on the first four measures, you'll notice that I keep all the notes fretted. I don't play any open strings even when I can. This helps keep a unified, consistent sound that's easy to control the articulation, because you can lift the left-hand fingers and control the note lengths very easily like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice I played that D with the third finger, that way I could reach up with my pinky and play the E flat right above it. Another cool little thing I like to do with the articulation here, it's not written in, but I think it sounds good, is if you play the D with a little slide into it. So you can slide into it with your second finger from a D flat. It makes it sound a little more jazzy. I kind of like it. Okay, the next four bars are similar to the first ones. Has some fingering issues though. The first thing you'll notice is you're going to want to have a natural instead of, or an A flat instead of an A natural in that first bar. Right. So I've refingered all that in third position and got the A flat on that 6th fret on the D string. And then when I get to that B flat on the last 8th note of the first bar, it ties over to the second bar. I leave a little bit of the tip of my first finger available so I can roll it to that F on the same fret. But notice when I go play the D on beat 4 measure 2, I use my second finger to play it. That way I don't have to roll 3 notes in a row with just my first finger. It would sound messy. Yeah, that high D was hard to fret just right. So I went ahead and used my second finger. Then right there, notice I slid into that G. That sounded kind of neat. So also put kind of a staccato on that D in the second bar, if you'll notice. This helps the phrasing articulation sound a bit more natural, like a wind instrument. This one has some considerations you'll want to look at too. Look at the first measure. Notice I've got that pull off to 8 in that 16th note passage there. Just practicing that first beat, or first couple beats there, until it's really even, will help your scores a lot. The other thing too is right here on the beat 4, I go ahead and shift it with my first finger on that B flat so I can get all the way up to the D flat on the second bar. Shift. I also have that beat 4 on the second measure. I played kind of staccato to help with the phrase. Kind of would be where a wind instrument might take a breath. And then right here I have a slide on the third measure into the second note. So you're going to slide into it and then re-articulate it when you get to it. Notice the change of A flat to A natural going into the last bar. Okay, in the next 4 bars you have these comped chords, which I have written out specifically for you. What I've done is I've taken the rhythms and the voicings that will lock in with the piano part. This is good because you don't have to fight the voice leading, and you don't have to worry about dissonant notes in between the piano part and the guitar part, because I've done that for you. It's a good habit to get into yourself. Whenever you see chords in your part without specific voicings or notes written out for them, grab the piano part and try to deduce what you think would be the smoothest part, with trying to avoid any kind of half steps in between the parts and things that are going to sound nasty. So this next part goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So notice on the E flat over the F part, after the slash, is really a bass note. And that's really kind of unrelated to how you can play it on the guitar. You can just play play a E flat major triad that I have it voiced in first inversion there with a third on the bottom, as you'll see. Then the next measure I have the B flat actually voiced with the F on the bottom. It just worked out that way. Then the A flat chord is in root position. Also notice I'm playing them block style. That's one good thing about playing 3-note triads, is you can use your pick for the bottom note and your second finger and your third finger for the other 2 notes. And that way you can play them right at the same time and they sound really clean, just like a piano. If you want to control the length of the notes, you can just plant your fingers back down on the note, like in the second bar. I played on 3-4 right here. I made those staccato by planting my right hand fingers on the note before I had to play them again. That kind of preparation will also help your accuracy in your right hand of playing all those notes at the same time. Okay, here on these extended chords, these 7 chords, are not triads anymore, so they're going to have 4 notes in them. The first chord I wrote is a closed voicing chord. That means all of the notes are adjacent to each other. There's no skips in the voicing, so they're all a third apart. An E major 7 chord. You want to work on that, and it changes to a D7 chord, D minor 7. Notice the voicing in there, I've omitted the 5th to kind of help with the voice leading. And then to the C7 into the B flat major 7. These are good voicings you'll see a lot of jazz guitarists use for these chords. Notice they're all in root position because they have the root on the bottom. This makes them easy to remember and good to store away. If you know your fretboard good enough, you can reuse these chords in other positions to get the same quality of chord, like this. For instance, this E flat major 7 would be a D major 7 if we moved everything down a fret, or a D flat major 7 if we moved it down another fret. So they're really handy because they come in use, and you'll see them over and over again. Okay, in this next bit, you'll notice that we have a chord that has some gaps in the strings. So we've got this root note on the 4th fret, then the rest of the chord is on the D, G, and B string. So what we have to do to strum through it with our pick is we have to mute the A string. So we're going to use our first finger for that low note and also mute the A string at the same time. So we have that, and then also another consideration is, well, you have the same chord right next to it, that G flat major 7. There's a typo there. It says G minor 7. It should be a G flat major 7. And then you go back to the block chords. So it sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. the next little segment, you get kind of like this little chromatic chord turnaround here. You get this E flat major 7 that we've used connected to a D minor 7, and then you get a that same B flat major 7 shape we use up in D flat, going to C. So the root motion is, we'll lock onto that voice leading when you play those two measures, you know, like back to block chords. The last four measures feature more of the same chords we've already used. So you have that B flat major 7, the A flat major 7, then to this D flat major 7, which is just like the E flat major 7 that we made on the you know, right here on the 6th fret, but we're going to make it right here on the 4th fret. One thing, quick note about these chords, sometimes when you use a lot of fingers on a chord and it's a new shape, you want to really focus on just the position of your fingers. So for instance, I'll make the shapes of these chords with my fingers, and without putting any pressure on the string at all, I'll just lightly touch one finger at a time over the fret that I'm supposed to press the string down to without putting any pressure. And I'll just practice changing chords like that with no pressure. I'll just lightly touch the strings and then go to the next chord and go back and forth. This is really good because position is more important than pressure. If you're in the right position, which is you know, right next to the fret that you're actually pushing the string down to, not in the middle of the fretboard, but if you're actually like almost right on the fret, but you don't want to choke the fret like that, but you want to leave a little bit of room so it rings out good. But if you can do that on every finger, on every chord, the chord will sound better and it'll be more in tune because you won't have to use as much pressure. This is important. Strive for that. Listen to me play it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, use the following track with drums and bass. It also has some accompanying guitar for when you play the single note melody for the first a few bars or so. So really lock in and try to make some music with the track, and that'll help your overall performance and sound.